How do you survive 2 days in a space smaller than your car? Where do you sleep when there's nowhere to lie down? What do you eat when there's no kitchen? And most importantly, how do you not go insane from boredom while flying a doomsday machine? Let me show you. Before we crawl inside, let's understand what we're dealing with. The B-2 Spirit isn't just an aircraft. It's living proof of what humans can build when money is no object. The development program cost $44 billion. For that money, you could have built 3 aircraft carriers, or launched 20 missions to Mars. But America decided to spend it on 21 aircraft that are virtually invisible to radar.
The wingspan, 52 meters. That's like a Boeing 747 but without a tail. The entire structure is one giant wing, not a single straight angle. Every curve is calculated to deflect radar waves anywhere but back to the source. On radar, this monster looks like a bird, sometimes like a large insect. 52 meters of metal, composites, and classified materials, and on a radar screen, it's a dot the size of a sparrow. And inside this invisible death machine, 2 people live, sometimes for almost 2 days straight. Now imagine this. You approach this giant, climb up the ladder, and find yourself in a space smaller than the front seats of a minivan. The B-2 cockpit is designed for 2 people. Commander on the left, co-pilot on the right. Between them, an aisle about 12 inches wide. You can't pass each other. Want to get past your partner? You'll literally have to crawl over them. The ceiling height in the work area is about 6 feet. Sounds okay, right? But that's only when sitting. In the back section, where the rest area is, the ceiling drops to just over 3 feet. Standing at full height is impossible, anywhere, period. Exact cockpit dimensions are classified, but according to expert estimates and rare photographs, the total living space is about 65 square feet. That's the size of a small bathroom. 65 square feet for 2 people for 40 hours. Most of that space is taken up by instrument panels, control systems, and emergency equipment. What's left for humans is minimal. Pilots who've given interviews describe the feeling like this. Imagine being put in a closet and asked to fly a spacecraft from inside it. Why fly so long in the first place? Why not just land, rest, and continue? The answer is simple. B-2s are based at only one location, Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. That's right in the center of the United States. From there to any point on Earth, thousands of miles. During Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, aircraft took off from Missouri, crossed the Atlantic, reached Afghanistan, dropped their bombs, and returned home without a single landing. The record flight lasted over 44 hours. That's almost 2 full days in the air. Why not land at intermediate bases? First, every B-2 landing is a massive operation. The aircraft needs special climate-controlled hangars. Its radar-absorbing coating is extremely sensitive. It can't handle humidity, temperature changes, or even ordinary dust. Second, fewer landings means less chance the enemy learns about the mission. The B-2 appears from nowhere, does its job, and vanishes. No traces at foreign airfields. So, pilots have to learn to live in their flying prison. And believe me, it's an art form. 44 hours is almost 2 days. A human physically cannot stay awake that long and maintain normal performance. Research shows that after 24 hours without sleep, cognitive abilities drop to the level of someone with a blood alcohol content of 0.1%. That's the legal driving limit in most countries. And here, we're not talking about a car. We're talking about a bomber carrying nuclear weapons. So, sleeping on board isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. In the rear of the cockpit, there's a small space, sometimes called the crew rest area, though that's a generous term. It fits a narrow folding cot, about the size of a train bunk, only narrower and shorter. While one pilot flies the aircraft, the other tries to sleep literally 3 feet away. No partition, no sound insulation, engine noise, electronics humming, periodic radio chatter. Pilots describe this sleep as trying to fall asleep inside a running vacuum cleaner, or like sleeping in a car trunk while driving off-road. Interesting fact: the military specifically studied how to improve sleep quality on board. They tried different types of mattresses, pillows, even special noise-canceling headphones. But the main problem isn't comfort, it's psychology. It's hard to relax when you know there are several thousand pounds of bombs beneath you, that your partner's alertness is keeping you alive, that at any moment an order could come that changes history. Most pilots sleep in 2 to 3 hour fragments, enough to not collapse from exhaustion, but not enough for real rest. After landing, many describe their state as zombie mode. Forget everything you've seen in business class commercials. No trays with hot meals, no flight attendants with carts. The B-2's kitchen is a small microwave the size of a shoebox, and a supply of military MREs, meals ready to eat. For a long mission, they pack about 8 to 10 packets per pilot. This is standard military ration, designed to last for years and require no special preparation. What's inside? Main course: pasta with meat sauce, chicken with rice, chili with beans, vegetable omelet, all vacuum-packed. Plus, bread or crackers, peanut butter, dried fruit, candy, drink powder. One packet contains about 1,200 calories, enough to keep you going. But the taste? Let's just say, after the third packet, everything starts tasting the same. Interesting detail: each MRE has a chemical heater. Add a little water, and in 10 minutes, the food is warm. But in the B-2, they usually use the microwave when it's free. Coffee is sacred. Without it, 40 hours is impossible. There are thermoses with pre-made brew and instant coffee for emergencies. Some pilots bring energy drinks, though officially it's not encouraged. Water is stored in special containers. They bring extra. Dehydration happens faster at altitude than on the ground. The cabin air is very dry, and your body loses moisture even just sitting there. But here's the problem: everything that goes in eventually has to come out. And that brings us to the most delicate topic. Yes, we're going to talk about this, because it's part of the reality that usually gets ignored. In an aircraft worth $2.1 billion, the toilet is a chemical bucket with a lid. Official name: portable sanitation device. Basically, a plastic container with chemical filler that absorbs odors. This engineering marvel is located in the rear of the cockpit, same place as the sleeping cot. Privacy: zero. Your partner sits 3 feet away. Nowhere to turn. For number one, there are special bags with absorbent gel called piddle packs. Simple technology. Do your business. The gel turns liquid into solid. For more serious matters, that bucket. The process requires removing part of your gear, which in a cramped cockpit becomes quite the acrobatic feat. There's an unofficial rule. Before long missions, pilots adjust their diet for several days. Less fiber, fewer gas-producing foods. The goal: minimize serious visits during the flight. After a 44-hour mission, the first thing pilots do after landing is run to a real bathroom. Not a joke. Priority number one: why not install a normal toilet? Weight. Every extra pound in a stealth aircraft is a compromise. Either less fuel, fewer bombs, or worse stealth characteristics. Pilot comfort is at the bottom of that equation. You might think flying a $2 billion bomber is constant tension. Thousands of buttons, complex maneuvers, danger at every turn. Reality is more mundane. Most of the flight, the B-2 flies itself. At cruise altitude, autopilot does the main work. Pilots monitor instruments, periodically contact command, check course, and wait for hours. Military psychologists consider monotony one of the main stress factors in long missions. Not fear, not physical discomfort, boredom. It dulls attention, slows reactions, can lead to dangerous mistakes. How do they fight it? Each pilot has their methods. Music is allowed and even encouraged. Many create special playlists for missions. Some prefer rock, others jazz, others podcasts or audiobooks. Main rule, one earbud only, so the other ear hears radio and your partner. Conversations with your partner are important. In one long mission, you can learn more about someone than in a year working side by side on the ground. Pilots say the strongest friendships form in the B-2. When you spend 2 days with someone in a cramped cockpit, pretense is impossible, strictly forbidden, video. Anything that occupies your eyes for long. To fly 40-plus hours, one tank isn't enough. The B-2 carries about 167,000 pounds of fuel, but even that's not sufficient for the longest missions. The solution, aerial refueling from flying tankers. Usually KC-135 Stratotanker or the more modern KC-10 extender. The procedure looks like this. The tanker flies ahead and extends a refueling boom, a long tube with a steerable tip. The B-2 pilot must position their aircraft so the receptacle on its body lines up with the boom. Acceptable deviation, inches, at 500 miles per hour. Sometimes at night, sometimes in clouds, sometimes after 20 hours without proper sleep. One refueling takes 15 to 20 minutes. During a long mission, there could be 5 or 6. Each one is peak concentration, after which hours of monotonous waiting resume. Pilots say refueling is the most intense minutes of the flight. A mistake could mean collision, aircraft damage, mission abort. Everything before, sleeping in awkward positions, eating from pouches, trips to the chemical bucket, becomes irrelevant. There's only the boom, the receptacle, and your hands on the controls. After successful connection, exhale. And then hours of flight until the next refueling. B-2 pilots aren't just strictly selected, they're ruthlessly selected. Minimum requirements, at least 1,000 hours flying other military aircraft, perfect service record, flawless health, both physical and mental. But that's just the beginning. Candidates are tested for claustrophobia. Any sign of it ends your B-2 career. They test your ability to handle monotony. Some people simply can't sit without active engagement for hours on end. Crew compatibility is a separate matter. In regular aviation, crews rotate constantly. In the B-2, pairs are formed for the long term. If 2 people can't spend 2 days together in a cramped cockpit without conflict, they won't be assigned as a team. By various estimates, the U.S. Air Force has about 80 to 100 pilots certified for B-2 flight. That's for 20 aircraft, one of which is always in maintenance or being upgraded. Elite within elite. They don't publicize their work. Many missions remain classified to this day. Families sometimes don't know not just where their spouse went, but for how long. Back in a couple days, and silence. Salary by American standards is decent. Senior pilots earn about $150,000 per year plus bonuses for special missions. But most say it's not about the money. It's about being one of the few people on the planet who can fly this machine. You could talk endlessly about B-2 specifications, radar invisibility, flight range, nuclear weapon capability, the threat it poses to any adversary. But behind every number, there are people. People who spend 40 hours in a space smaller than your bathroom, sleep on a cot 20 inches wide, eat from plastic pouches, use the toilet in a bucket while their colleague watches. Why can't they make the cockpit bigger? Add a real toilet, a comfortable bed, at least somewhere to stand up straight. Because every square inch of the B-2 serves one purpose: invisibility. Change the body shape, the radar signature changes. Add a bulge, a reflection appears. Make the cockpit taller, and that sparrow-sized dot on radar becomes pigeon-sized. Pilots pay for their machine's invisibility with their own comfort. Their cramped backs, sleep deprivation, bathroom humiliations, all part of the price for the ability to appear from nowhere over any point on the planet. They knew what they signed up for. And they don't complain. Next time you see a photo of this futuristic aircraft, remember the two people inside: the chemical bucket, the folding cot, and 40 hours in a flying closet. 22nd century technology, living conditions from a camping tent. That's life inside the B-2 Spirit. If you found this interesting, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me what other military technology you'd like to see from the inside. Not the specs, but how people actually live in there. Submarines, aircraft carriers, tanks, space stations? I'm waiting for your suggestions. See you in the next video.